Hi, plant buddies. I have been tagged in the game of plant tag. So you may have seen some other YouTube creators participate in this, but basically there was this plant tag challenge started by Wild Fern, and I was nominated or tagged by Chula over at Hooked on Houseplants. Um, Another part of the game is that I'm supposed to tag or nominate some other YouTube creators to participate in the challenge as well. And I would like to tag Richie over at Growfolds, Steven at I Lift Plants, and Matt over at the Cozy Plant Co. So hopefully they will join in and participate. This should be fun. Even if you are not a YouTube creator, if you'd like to, go ahead and answer the questions down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your answers to these plenty questions as well. I did go ahead and write down some notes, so I'll be kind of referring to these throughout the video, but I just wanted to make sure I kind of answered the questions in the correct order and covered all the thoughts that I had as I was looking at those questions and kind of formulating my answers. So, but let's jump into that. The first question is, what is a wish list plant that you crossed off your list in 2025? And I definitely do have a few of those here. So earlier on in the year, the first wish list plant that I got in 2025 was the Aglaonema Orange Stardust. I had been wanting this one for probably like a year at that point. And so I was able to find this one from Pita's Planters in Dallas, Texas, on their Instagram live sale. And we'll do a little close up on it. I really wanted this one just because of the very orange or kind of peach colored coloration that it has. I definitely think that plants with orange in them are a little bit more on the rare side, and they're just absolutely beautiful. And so I got that one kind of earlier on in 2025. And then the next one I also got from Pita's Planters, and it is the Aglaonema Golden Hope. And unfortunately, I think I let this one get dry rot at some point, just with my sheer number of plants that I have in my collection. It gets really hard to keep everything watered. So this one unfortunately is down to just one little leaf, kind of a pup that it was getting down at the bottom of the plant. So I'm really hoping that I can kind of nurture this one back to life, but we'll kind of see how that goes in 2026 here. So yeah, that one was the Aglaonema Golden Hope. And then also from Pita's Planters again, I did get the Aglaonema Hello Kitty. This one was the most recent that I crossed off my wish list. And also one of the last plants that I ordered before winter came, and I've kind of been relegated to not so much being able to order plants online at this point, just with how cold it is here in Minnesota. But so yeah, I got 3 wish list Aglaonema that were on my list throughout the year of 2025. Question number 2. What is a genus that you want to get into in the new year? So this one is a little bit of a loaded question for me. If you saw my 2026 plant goals video last week, you probably already know that I, at times, have been a little bit overwhelmed with plants in 2025. I was at a point where my dining room floor was just covered in plants, like all the way around my table. And what I do want to do sometime soon, hopefully, is I'd like to get some more shelves for this room. I call this the plant hoarding room, by the way. But I really want to get some shelves, and then I want to make a video doing kind of like a little makeover of this space and hopefully getting things a lot better organized in this room. I would have to say one genus that, or one type of plant that has kind of piqued my interest in 2025 would be succulents. In particular, euphorbia. I think there's a lot of really beautiful ones, and they're also, for the most part, pretty easy care. Um, but again, I do also want to kind of stop plant hoarding, so to speak, and try to keep my collection a little bit more manageable to care for and a little bit more intentional in 2026. So, question number 3 was, what is your plant care routine? And this is a little bit embarrassing to confess to, but I don't in particular really have a plant care routine. And a big part of that is the fact that I get so busy at certain points of the year. And again, I have kind of overwhelmed myself with the number of plants at times. So to be honest, a lot of it is I'll notice that a plant somewhere in the house is looking like it's kind of starting to wilt or suffer. And then I will end up hurriedly going through the entire house and trying to catch up on watering. Hopefully, with the holidays being over and things being a little bit less busy, up until at some point here we'll hit spring planting season for outdoors. Hopefully that's going to be quite a bit easier in that little stretch of time there, but um, something that I would kind of like to do in 2026 is that it would probably be a good idea to develop some type of a routine that would kind of help with caring for my plants a little bit better. One thing that I do, other than the fact that I tend to let everything get into drought and then have to try to catch up and go through the whole house and water everything. One thing that I do kind of do is try to have like little zones in the house. So, for example, I will focus on watering like the east side of the living room, and then the west side at a different point in time. For the dining room, kind of the plant shelves would be one zone. The table and the floor might be two separate zones from that. And then I've also got a few plants in the guest bedroom, and at the moment here, a bunch of plants down in my basement overwintering room. And when I'm keeping up on the watering and care, what I will do is try to kind of focus on one zone at a time, just so that it's not so overwhelming to have to try to go through the entire house, which takes a couple days when I really start in on it if every room is in drought. But question number 4 is, what is a plant success that you have had this year? So this does kind of date back into 2024. But I'd have to say my philodendron lemon lime, the upright version, also known as Golden Goddess or Melee Gold. And the reason I would say that it is a success, let me maybe grab that as I discuss this here. But so this plant back in 2024, it had gotten root rot, and it made it down to the point where there was basically one little tiny node left that was salvageable. So again, process did kind of begin back in 2024, but last year I could tell the plant began to grow, and I could tell that I was going to be successful in saving it from just that one little node that was left. But in 2025, it really took off, and it has grown quite a bit this year. I definitely do need to, at some point here, think of some sort of a pole. Probably might just give this one a bamboo stick in the meantime here, but this I would say is definitely a success from the year 2025, and again, also kind of dating back into 2024 when the whole process started. But has just absolutely beautiful neon green foliage and is definitely thriving, and hopefully that will continue for 2026. The next question is, what is a plant? Just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing one there. Um, what is a plant failure that you have had in 2025? Um, a certain plant definitely came to mind when I started to think about that question. Um, I don't know if it can be considered a failure unless the plant actually completely dies, but one would definitely be my Aglaonema Golden Hope, which again is unfortunately crossing over from my wish list plant list of this year over to the struggle bus list. But I did also have an Aglaonema Frosted Ghost, and I had bought it last January at Walmart. It was a Costa Farms one, and it looked beautiful for most of a good portion of the year. And then at some point in the summer, everything had kind of gone into drought mode as I was spending a lot of time working on the outside gardens. And unfortunately, I did end up letting it get dry rot. It went too long in between watering, and then when I did finally go in and water it, um, those all those dried out roots just kind of began to rot, and the plant began to decline. Um, I made a few videos throughout this kind of fall and winter on updates of that, but it did eventually make it to a point where I've got just a couple little stem pieces of that, one off of both stalks, and they have made it all the way into my perlite prop box downstairs. This was at some point in December, I believe, early December, and I just checked on them today, and they are alive. They don't look like they're really doing anything yet, but they also haven't rotted, so there is still hope that that might work. I've honestly never propagated Aglaonema in that manner, and I'm really hoping that it is successful because they are extremely hard to water propagate if you ever do run into that type of situation where you get root rot or dry rot and you have to kind of start the plant over. So, but I will keep you guys kind of posted on that at a later point when there are some updates to give there. And then I just thought we would take a quick peek at what the Frosted Ghost used to look like. And in showing you the Frosted Ghost, I'd also like to say another goal of mine is to learn how to edit my videos a little bit better. I'm going to be honest and say that I don't know how to insert a photo into a video yet. So to show you the Frosted Ghost, I have just kind of pulled it up on my Instagram here on my computer. But you can see it was very beautiful back in early summer. And as I said again, at the moment here, it is basically reduced to a couple of stem pieces in a prop box. So if for some reason those propagations don't make it, that is definitely a plant I would like to add back into my collection. As you can see, it is very beautiful. So, all right. How'd you like that fancy camera trickery there? Look at me finding ways to work around not knowing how to do something. um, so yeah, that is definitely a goal in 2026 for me, is just to learn a little bit more about how to edit my videos. So far, I've mainly used iMovie, and I've used it for voiceovers when I do the plant shopping videos at places like Lost in the Forest or Tonkadale Greenhouse. Um, but yeah, I really need to kind of play around with those editing programs a little bit more and kind of teach myself how to do the thing where you insert a photo. Um, Again, I've kind of mostly been using iMovie. I am kind of curious to check out that new one. YouTube itself has actually just recently come out with a program for editing videos, and I downloaded it, but I haven't really played around with that program yet to see if I can figure it out, or if I might like to use that program more so versus the iMovie. But anyway, let's move on to the next question here. So, what season do you find the most challenging for plant care? So this is probably for myself going to be the polar opposite to what a lot of people would say for this question. But um, with my outdoor gardening, really the most challenging plant care season for myself is actually summer. I have a huge outdoor garden. It goes all the way around the whole house. And it is a lot of space to water, especially when a lot of summers we get here in Minnesota some really long drought periods. So it is a lot of watering, especially in the later parts of summer where it's really hot. And as I spend a lot more time working on that, it just gives me even less time to kind of care for the indoor plants and keep them watered. And they definitely get into some prolonged drought periods when that happens. Once again, another reason why I really like my philodendrons and Aglaonema, just because they are durable and they, for the most part, can kind of handle sometimes with drought or a little bit less frequent watering than they really should have. So the next question is, what plant pest do you struggle with the most? So the plant pest that is most commonly found in my house from time to time would have to be spider mites. Um, I'm not super intimidated by them because, knock on wood, but I find them fairly easy to get rid of with a couple applications of the Mite X brand spray. Um, so yeah, spraying them down with that a couple times usually tends to get rid of those spider mites. I noticed that some of the other people, when they answered this question, kind of talked about what plant pests they're most scared of. And for myself, that would have to be thrips, most certainly. I did for the first time deal with those in 2025. And as far as I know, I was able to eradicate them. But it did take a lot of diligence and over the course of like maybe 2 weeks, I ended up having to treat everything in the house just to be on the safe side with systemic granules. And then the initial plants where I discovered those thrips, I did spray them all down immediately with neem oil as soon as I figured out what was happening. I cut some of them back. I did throw away my philodendron Brazil, which was very infested with thrips. Um, and then one by one, I took every single plant in the whole entire dining room outside and sprayed them down with insecticidal soap and wiped them down. And fortunately, it does seem that that was able to completely eradicate the thrips as far as I can tell. So I would also have to say I'm kind of scared of mealybugs as well. I have dealt with those once, which was kind of closer to the beginning of my plant collecting days. So the very first Hoya that I ever got, it was just like a regular green one with the splashy leaves, Carnosa, I believe. I bought it from a seller on Facebook Marketplace, and it was actually in my guest bedroom for like a few months, and I didn't notice any signs of mealybugs. And one day I was watering that plant, and I spotted one, and then I looked closer, and I spotted more. And what I ended up doing was luckily there weren't any other plants super nearby it in my guest bedroom, but I ended up moving it downstairs to kind of my laundry room space. And this was a while ago, so I'm trying to kind of remember what I all tried there, but I think I first sprayed it down with neem oil, maybe. I ended up spraying it at least a couple times with a product called Seven, which is for plant pests. And I was like showering it off every time when I would spray it down. And um, at some point, I think that was when I first tried systemic granules. And even after like a few weeks of that, it just wasn't getting rid of the mealybugs. Like, um, I would inspect the plant and think they were gone, and then like a couple days later, or the next time I went and looked at the plant, there would be another mealybug on it. So I kept treating it, and eventually, uh, I think this was in like 2022, probably winter into spring. Eventually, outdoor gardening season came around, and I would kind of forget about that plant being down in the basement away from all the other plants. And eventually, I forgot to water it for too long and it completely died. Um, and as far as I know, when it completely died, was the only thing that finally got rid of those mealybugs. So I am definitely scared of those as well. They seem pretty difficult to eradicate once they get into your house. So, next question here. What is your top wish list plant for 2026? Um, I definitely see the computer screen coming back into play here because I do want to show you the beautiful plant that is my number one wish list for over a year now. But my number one wish list plant is still at this time the Aglaonema crown of Siam. Um, I've never seen one in person. I think to obtain that plant, I very likely would have to buy it from overseas, and that's a little bit intimidating because I've never done that before. Um, to be honest, until last year, I had never actually purchased a plant online before, always in person. And at this point, still the only place I have purchased online from is Petus Planters, which, I mean, when you find a place that you like ordering from and they do a great job and make it really easy to order plants. I've just kind of stuck with them, but I do think in order to potentially find an Aglaonema crown of Siam, I may have to kind of explore the possibility of buying that from overseas. So, but let's take a look at the beautiful Aglaonema crown of Siam. All right. I did almost forget there was one other plant from the plant failure category that I wanted to cover in this video, which was my Aglaonema Black Sumatra. That one has unfortunately completely gone to plant heaven, so I do no longer have that one in my collection. But let's check out that gorgeous Aglaonema Crown of Siam. And a big part of why I love this plant is that you can see it has the green with like regular veins running through it, but it also has the variegation. And when the veins get into that variegated part, they just kind of go crazy and get really exaggerated. And I think that is a really cool thing about this plant. We've got a few photos of it pulled up. This one is from um, that one is on Instagram, and it is an account I follow on there, Bangs Aglaonema. I believe they are somewhere overseas, potentially maybe Indonesia, just because I know that's where a lot of the cool Aglaonema hybrids come from. But there's another photo of it right there, and another photo. I think this one's probably kind of my favorite out of the photos that I selected, but again, you can see it is just really cool how it's got the veins, and then the veins get all crazy when they get into the variegated sections of the plant. So that one, again, has been a wish list plant of mine for probably over a year, and will continue to be my top wish list plant until I maybe eventually do get my hands on one of these. So, camera trickery for the win again. Uh, but in all seriousness, I really do need to play around with those editing programs, like I was saying, and figure out how to do the thing where you insert a photo into the video. There's definitely been some previous times in my videos where it would have been really nice to know how to do that. And um, with this list, I was like, there's a couple things I really kind of need to show, particularly the wish list plant. I had to show that gorgeous Aglaonema crown of Siam, just so that you could see why that's my wish list plant. It's just absolutely beautiful and really cool. But I think we are down to the last question, I think. Yeah. So question number 10 is, what is your favorite plant of 2025? And I would have to say, I think this has probably been the same for the last couple of years, and I did just show this in my 2025 kind of review video last week, but surprise, it is not an Aglaonema, but it is very gorgeous, and it is my Philodendron Emerald Ice. And just like I was saying in the video last week and in the Philodendron tour video when I did it, this plant is just absolutely beautiful. And in my opinion, this variegation is just absolutely to die for. So you can see that it has an extremely high amount of variegation and probably has almost more white than green on most of the leaves. And I just think that it is absolutely amazing. So it's also grown a decent amount this past year for me too, back in 2025. So, but kind of one last little thing I wanted to touch back on. This might be a slight duplication from some things we talked about in my video last week, but I definitely do have some goals for this channel for 2026. Kind of main first one is, again, to get a little bit more familiar and better with using that video editing software. And then also a very big goal for me is to make it to 1,000 subscribers. So hopefully we can cross that milestone in the upcoming year here. And then again, just kind of personal plant collecting wise. Again, I am definitely wanting to stop like hoarding plants, so to speak. And I really came to that conclusion back when I was putting up the Christmas tree and having to move plants around. And I just ended up with like an entire floor full of plants in most of my dining room area here. Again, it is why I call it the plant hoarding room currently, but so hopefully I will find some solutions to that. And again, I am wanting to get some more shelving solutions and then also do kind of incorporate that into a video, do like a little makeover of the dining room here. And yeah, I think that was pretty much everything there. Again, we kind of talked about goals for the upcoming year a little bit in my wrap up video for the year last week. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I thought it was kind of fun going through these questions, and I didn't want to go through and watch a whole bunch of these plant tag videos before I made my own, just because I didn't want it to kind of influence my answers to any of the questions. But I do intend to go back onto YouTube once I'm finished with filming this and kind of see what everyone else had to say. I did obviously watch Wild Fern's video since she was the originator, and Chula's video since she was the one that tagged me over at Hooked on Houseplants. And again, I would like to tag or nominate Richie over at Growfolds, Steven over at I Lift Plants, and Matt over at Cozy Plant Co. So again, I hope that the three of you will participate. Again, I thought it was a lot of fun, and I think it's also going to be fun seeking out some more of these plant tag videos on YouTube and just kind of seeing what everyone else's opinions are on that subject matter. So again, a big thanks to Chula over at Hooked on Houseplants for tagging me in the challenge. Um, just one other quick little thing. If you are enjoying this content, please don't forget to hit that like button. I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel. And also, if you are on Instagram and would like to follow me over there for some more planty content, my username is the same as my username here on Facebook, so just planty_buds. But again, I hope that everyone has a fantastic and prosperous 2026. And I will see you guys next weekend with another planty video. Bye.